Well, I tell you, they tell you that patience is a virtue. Welcome. It is the Palms Up Show. How's everybody doing? Oh, let me make sure that you can hear me.
Hello. How's it going?
Hello.
Facebook, palms up. Yes. They say that
Palms
patience.
up, palms up.
So let's get this all taken care of. Sounds like I've got a delay, but never you mind. Never you mind. We're going to get this good information out to you guys. Well, if you've been watching the feed, palms up, you know that this week we're going to be talking to you about healing trauma from a spirituality standpoint and perspective. I've got some wonderful guests. You may recognize one of my guests, Miss Jules Christian. Palms up to you, and welcome back to the platform.
My pleasure to be here, Rhonda. Palms up.
It's so awesome, and I want to apologize up front. As you know, we've been dealing with the connectivity, and sometimes, from one week to the next, we never know what's going to happen, but our motto, we go live for a reason. It's always important that we get the message out. That's right. Palms up to you. And I want to also welcome, and Jules, I want to just go back for a minute. I don't want to brush over that. You guys remember Jules from the silent auction.
That's
remember
right.
when we had all that wonderful fun and all that wonderful art? Well, Jules is still at it, out helping the community. And as you would know it, she's talking and bringing us a message from the Volunteers of America Association. They are actually going to be holding an event that is going to be focusing on healing trauma through spirituality and from that perspective. And I know all of my palms up viewers and my dedicated diehards, I know you have a point of view because I know there's something called church hurt. I know that we're still reconciling our religion with our understanding of our spirituality. I want you to know that Jules didn't come alone. So this is going to be a great conversation. I'm hoping that by now you guys have the link, healthydcandme.org. Be sure to spell and out, and you're going to be able to go and get the link for the show. Well, Jules didn't come alone. She brought assistance, and by assistance, I mean the beautiful Miss Geneva Tiggle. Am I saying those words right? Your name right? Geneva Tiggle.
Absolutely.
Well, welcome to the Palms Up platform, where we raise our hand, pull our sleeves back, and we welcome knowledge. Our MAD studio is all about mindfully making a difference every day in the lives of our citizens and in the lives of each other and one another, because as leaders, it's important that we stay lifted up. Palms up. All right, guys. Well, we've been very active in the community, focusing on the clearance of the McPherson Square in the city. And we also have housing hearings coming up on Thursday. I want to shout out all my brave souls. Even though you're working and couldn't be there, you still wanted to make sure to fill out that report card link, which was so important. If you have not filled out your community report card link, you can still participate. Make your voice heard. It's time to come together so that we can all learn a better way and we can help one another. When we know better, we can do better. Palms up. That's right. And we have to speak out. I want you to know that SAMHSA talks about the 8 essentials of wellness. And one of the reasons why tonight's show resonates so wonderfully with me is because in My Mother's Keeper, our core agency, we are very committed to promoting our mental wellness awareness through SAMHSA's 8 dimensions of wellness. And you remember, we've been talking about it, and especially in the month of May, the emotional, environmental, financial, intellectual, occupational, physical, social, and that's right. Today's guest is going to talk about the 8th wellness understanding according to SAMHSA's research, and that's the spiritual understanding. And from SAMHSA's research standpoint, what they realized is that when our citizens didn't have a balanced understanding of their 8 essentials of wellness, that oftentimes research supported that citizens of mental imbalance and challenges were dying sooner. And so what we learned is that if we could become empowered through education, through peer-to-peer advocacy, through outreach, and through wonderful initiatives such as the one before you today. Ladies, welcome to the Palms Up platform. And thank you again so very much for taking the time. Well, you got an event coming up in 2 days.
Yes,
Why
we
don't
do.
someone tell me the origination of healing trauma from a spiritual standpoint? Because I imagine you know what your audience must, be wondering, right? Because we hear often about church hurt, and obviously spirituality is a lot different than religion, but most folks associate it as one and the same. So will you please come forward and introduce to the Palms Up viewers what it is that you guys are excited about over at Volunteers of America in this outreach initiative?
Yeah, thank you so much, Rhonda. Really appreciate you having Geneva and myself on the Palms Up show. We are having a spiritual colloquium this Thursday on healing from trauma, a future and a hope. And what we know is that we can make people's lives better. We can give them tools to improve their lives, but it takes God, a higher power, spirituality to make us whole. And we don't all believe the same things, but this is not about religion. It's not about any particular set of beliefs. It's about coming together and talking about the fact that we are spirit beings and that we have healing in our spirits. That is a need that we have. And, a lot of people may focus just on the mental health or just on the physical health. But, we are a very complex being, just like you shared the 8 points of wellness that SAMHSA put out. And you can't leave out the spiritual, how we connect with the divine, how we connect with meaning and purpose and love and our place in the world. And so at Volunteers of America, we are a Church Without Walls, a faith-based organization, and we know that people need this conversation on healing from trauma from a spiritual perspective.
I agree. Geneva, come on to the conversation. I'm sure that you have a wonderful perspective to add.
Absolutely. So to this conversation, I bring, many years of mental health experience working with individuals who've experienced trauma. And as Chaplain Jules just mentioned, this is something that's very important for us to bring into the conversation. We know that spirituality and connection to the source, connection to one's higher self, makes a huge difference in recovery, right? Mm-hmm. A huge difference. And not only that, we want to make sure that it is a part of the community, that those who are a part of a spiritual group or a church-based group know that this is not a taboo subject for us to discuss, that we really need to talk about and realize just how ubiquitous trauma is for individuals. We need to look at it also from a community perspective, from a cultural perspective, and there's so many things we can do that can just raise the conversation and ensure that we have a full, holistic approach to helping individuals. You talked about those 8 dimensions, and it is one of those dimensions. So we're looking at actually 2 of them, right? The spiritual and the mental health.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I love that. And one of the things that you just touched on was the reality of this being a holistic approach. And oftentimes, especially with many of the citizens that we find ourselves doing the majority of our outreach to, where the services are limited, where the cultural presence is not as visible, our community members tend to get lost in understanding the importance of the role that plays in the true healing. As advocates on the ground, we're constantly speaking on revolving door type of programs that don't really help heal the whole person. And so what I hear you guys speaking of is an opportunity to introduce a holistic way to our community members to work on beyond just the mental and the physical, but like Ms. Christian mentioned, their connection and their being and their whole, existence. Talk to me about
Absolutely.
how you guys came up with, bringing this to the community, because I think it's a pretty brave initiative. And then after you talk to me about how you came up with bringing it to the community, help me understand, what about viewers understand, what would they visualize in coming to an event such as this? Or what should they visualize?
Right. Yeah. Thank you. First of all, I want you to know that this event is for you. If you're a leader in the community, this event is for you, to help you to know how to connect with those that you serve and help them in their spiritual growth as they heal from trauma. If you're one who's been through trauma, and let's face it, all of us have come through the COVID pandemic and the mental health pandemic and the racism pandemic, the gun violence pandemic. So all of us have been through trauma. So if you've been through trauma, this is for you. If you're in the ministry, if you're in the healthcare, if you're in education, whatever arena you work on, this is for you. And Rhonda, I'm so excited. We are so excited because we have a panel that has so much knowledge. Geneva Tiggle, our LCSW, and the Director of Organizational Excellence at Volunteers of America, Chesapeake and Carolinas, is on the panel. We have two pastors in the community, Reverend Damian Johnson out at Seabrook Church, which is the host church, Pastor Colette Wadia from Jesus House, DC. We have Rabbi Hava Evans from the Jewish community, and we have a person with lived experience that's been through trauma that's going to speak on the peer side of things, the side of that she knows she's been through all sorts of trauma and is on the other side of that trauma now serving others. And so we've come together for this beautiful discussion where we can participate, folks can ask questions, and they can get so much knowledge that will help them either personally with their own trauma or as they serve the community. And I'll let Geneva speak to our past and how we got started with these colloquiums and healing conversations.
Sure,
Thank you,
absolutely.
Jo.
Yeah, thank you. Absolutely. So, as you know, VOA, we provide services into the community, case management, mental health, wellness, housing, residential services. And we've been around in DC and Maryland really for 125 years. So it's a long time. Many
Wow.
programs connecting with Virginia, Maryland, and DC. So the whole DMV area. And we started during the pandemic. This was virtual, right? So this will be the first time that we are live in person, at least since
Oh,
I've
wow.
started. I think they've
Wow.
done it in the past. And this is a conversation of different. We had the title last year is Healing Conversations. So very different topics of interest. Just bringing people together, bringing experts, and bringing citizens, and just really saying, okay, how do we feel about this issue? What are the thoughts and responses from the panelists who are generally professionals in the field? And it went from mindfulness to meditation to conflict, and it was all from a spiritual based lens. And as we as an agency are launching our trauma informed care services, and with February being trauma informed month, we just thought, what a wonderful idea to use this opportunity to say to the community, we are here for you. We are looking at the lens of the trauma for individuals and for communities. We realize and recognize how ubiquitous it is. We are here to respond and to resist re-traumatization, which does sometimes happen, right? And we want to be a part of the correction. We want to be a part of the community of healers that recognizes it, that holds space for it, that doesn't consider it taboo, that welcomes the conversations, that helps tool others to do the same thing. And so that's why we're here today.
That's awesome. Palms up to you, beautiful women, for this wonderful work that you're doing. Our whole message and platform is about normalizing the conversation around mental health and mental wellness in order that we can elevate it, right? The challenge with dealing with the stigma often in communities that are not often educated or exposed. You know, I just recently ran for mayor, and one of my biggest focuses was to bring home the point to our academics, if you will, to our folks that may not be in tune with why this is so important. We learned mental health and trauma healing and understandings of such through another lens, and it's time that we have more exposure. For example, I know that we're making strides in healing our mental wellness and trauma understandings through yoga and meditation and other understandings, but if we don't create access
Yes.
understandings, then our community members don't have the opportunity to grow. So palms up to you, beautiful women, forging path. I want you to take a break for a minute, and I want to invite our beautiful overseer and to welcome everyone to the call. I believe that I saw Arlene even come in. Palms up to you, queens, and everyone on the call. But overseer, would you unmute for a minute? I'd be remiss, and welcome Queen back. I think I see the top of your head in that golden sunshine crown of yours. Palms up to you. Will you come to the conversation for me, please, and tell me what you are hearing, and you know, any conversation that you'd like to bring forward to Jules or Geneva surrounding Volunteers of America. Really, you know, beautiful platform for bringing folks forward and healing their trauma through a spiritual perspective. Are you there, overseer?
Yes, can you hear me?
I hear you well.
All right,
Yes.
good afternoon, ladies. I think this is a very good topic. It's a real topic, and trauma is real. And I'm just gonna put it out there. The church adds to the trauma.
That's true.
The church adds to the trauma, especially certain denominations. Everything ain't the devil. And in theology school, they really don't teach us about mental health. So if you don't understand, as far as you're concerned spiritually, it's a demon. You tell people to get off their medication. Some folks need their medication.
Amen.
The being a spiritual leader, we deal with a lot of trauma ourselves because people come to us in confidence. We can't tell everything, but we're human beings.
Mhm.
Our culture, and I just gotta keep it 100, are very reluctant to come for services because I have seen for myself where they go for services, end up in court, and then the families are dispersed. The children are taken out the home, put in foster system, which adds more trauma to it. We have a very broken system. Instead of keeping everybody together now, I'm in agreement. If it's violence, rape, and murder and stuff like that, it need to be separated. But 90%, been my experience, is the families need help as a unit to
Yes.
learn to work together as a unit. And we don't have that. And I'm sorry to say, the system is a failure. The system is not based on prevention. It's after the fact. I'm just keeping it 100. It's after the fact. Those that never get in the system never even get any help. And that's part of the problem. We need a better way to help people, keep them out of the system, keep them together, teach them how to function, and understand each culture have their own way. Some cultures keep everything within their culture because that's just what it is. Like the Asian community, they're not gonna step out for help. They're gonna keep it right there. So when one comes, it's very rare. And you hit it on the mark. First thing we have to do is relationship. I have 3 rules. Relationship. When you build a relationship, there becomes trust. While you're building that relationship, you get to evaluate. where they are mentally and where you might can help them or need to send them. Then the spiritual piece will come in, because all that they see you care about them as a person. And the system don't care about you as a person. And that's why we have some of the problems that we have. And the more automated we become, the less humanistic we become. That's all I got to say.
Well,
I
tell
just
us
wanna-
how you really feel, Overseer. Come on, Jules Christian, palms up.
Yeah,
to you.
yeah. I just want to say thank you for keeping it real. Thank you for sharing your passion and your pain. And I agree with you that the church as a whole does not do a good job with providing support to those who have experienced trauma and have mental health challenges. That is one of the reasons, not the only, but one of the reasons we're doing the spiritual colloquium, to help both the receiver and the giver, wherever you are in the trauma spectrum, to help make a difference and to bring about change. As a chaplain's kind of a cross between a pastor and a counselor.
Mhm.
And as a chaplain, I help our organization keep that focus of spirituality, but bring about real change. And I can't speak for anyone else, but I know what you're saying is true. It does take relationships and trust and love. And that is why Volunteers of America, Chesapeake and Carolinas is different. Because we are a Christian nonprofit that loves everybody, a church without walls, founded from our founders, Bowlington and Maul Booth, went and did whatever was in their hands to do to help people in the trenches. Maul Booth was the first person to preach in Sing Sing prison. And 126 years later, Volunteers of America and our affiliate, Chesapeake and Carolinas, is still out there making a difference in our community. So we can change people one person at a time, one step at a time, one relationship at a time, to make the system that we have better. And so we here at Volunteers of America want to be a part of the solution. And that is why we want you to come out to our spiritual colloquium this Thursday, February 23rd, in Lanham, Maryland at Seabrook Church from 1 to 4. Geneva?
Sure,
That's
absolutely.
awesome. Hold on, I don't want to breeze through that. Hold on 1 minute, Geneva. Jules,
Yeah.
I was going to ask you to give us the details. So that's Seabrook Church in Lanham,
Yes.
Maryland.
Yep, it's 8900 Good Luck Drive. Isn't that a great drive to be riding on?
I know, good
8900
luck.
Good
well.
Luck Drive, Seabrook Church in Lanham, Maryland. And the actual colloquium is from 1 to 4, and check-in doors open at 12:30. This is a free event, so we want you to come out and take Thursday at Seabrook Church on 8900 Good Luck Drive in Lanham, Maryland.
That's awesome. Hey, thank you, Geneva, and thank you, Jules, for that. Geneva, thanks for your patience. Palms up to you, Jules. Come on, you were going to add to that.
I just wanted to say to acknowledge the overseer, Dr. Coles, your comments, and just to emphasize how important it is if we have this conversation, that the leaders come out, that we talk about how to create safety and transparency in the work we do, and that this is the very beginning, and we hope to continue to keep this going because it's so important and so overdue.
Awesome. It's so needed. And palms up. I just want to point out to our palms up viewers that SAMHSA's Substance and Mental Health Services Administration, that they point out that the definition of spiritual is expanding a sense of purpose and meaning in life. I
Yes.
want you to chew on that for a minute. Right. And so I appreciate that you guys are coming out to do this work. Is this something that you might have tried in a pilot understanding? And might I ask the types of responses you got, or is this kind of your first exposure on the community level of something of this particular?
So for this specific event, this is the first show or promotion. We have a lot of faith partners that we work with. We have a lot of people we've worked with in the past that we connect with, and getting the word out in so many different ways and many media formats, but this is the first actual community show that we have been on.
No, I mean, I'm
It's-
sorry that the question wasn't clear. The actual colloquium that you're having,
Okay.
is this your first exposure to doing something like this on the community level? And what's your expectation in terms of occupancy or exposure? What's your capacity? Can you receive a lot in your venue?
Yes, Seabrook Church is we can hold you. If you want to come out, and we can support you. You can be a part of this event on Thursday. And this is not the first time. I believe they've been doing this for many, many years. Before COVID, they did do some in person, but because of the pandemic, we've been shut down, which is
This is
all
the
the
first
reason
time we're
more.
talking about trauma and spirituality,
Mm.
but this
Yeah.
is not the first colloquium where we come
Right.
together and talk
Okay.
about spirituality and meaning in life. So, but
Okay.
this is the first time we're fusing the two, right? So
Right.
Yeah.
this is a very special launch for us and a discussion that we hope to be one of numerous.
I love that. And so thank you both, ladies. Let's delve a little deeper into what you just mentioned, Geneva, the reality of it being a fusion of trauma and healing it through spirituality. There must have been some research, or there must have been some positive understandings that you guys saw as a guide or as the motivation for building on it. Would you expound from Volunteer of America's standpoint in terms of why the fusion they feel is something that the community would benefit from, right? And then what types of things had other communities already started to experience?
Sure. Do you want me? I'll start. So in terms of, the research shows, and I've really committed my life's work to this, to effective trauma treatment. And, research, as you mentioned, more and more brings up the conversation about spirituality and the missing link. And we have learned that there are sort of two sides to this, right? So one is, with spirituality, there's a greater emphasis on healing.
Mm,
And
mm,
the other side of that is those that have been hurt, regardless of its connection to their spiritual community or church, they have a hard time connecting to their faith. They
Mhm.
step away because that injury, that question about why is this happening, right? Why is there a God? Is this fair? So there are two sides to that. And when you're able to have the conversation and know that it's legitimate and it's real, you're able to move through the difficult challenges from a greater understanding, from supportive. It goes from pointing to, pointing fingers and assigning
Mhm.
blame, to coming together, ensuring that those that have been injured, right?
Mhm.
Air quotes, injured, because I know that's pretty broad.
Yes.
Those that have been injured have a voice in the
Yes.
services they're receiving, feel safe
Mhm.
receiving those services. As Dr. Cole said, sometimes they're re-traumatized, trying to
Yes.
get help, and things get worse.
Mhm.
And so now we're at this real pinnacle of saying, look, we have to look at the work we do from a trauma-informed lens, right? And as a church without walls, we're not going to leave spirituality out.
Right.
It's not going to be an add-on at the end. So
I like
Yes.
that. And thank you. And as you were talking, I was thinking of something, Geneva, if you will, the reality of the age levels for the event. Are there any restriction? Are there parents who should be concerned if they have small children? Because we realize that small children experience trauma as well. So is it the intention for this event to focus or be directed in a particular age group or even demographic?
right. So I think the conversation is, for adults. High school students could benefit from this conversation, but it's a school day and they're going to understand they'll be in school. It's something that if it's recorded by a parent, they can have a conversation with their adolescent about. There are different ways of supporting younger children through trauma, and this is not one of those ways. But anyone in attendance, a parent, a friend, a service provider, minister, counselor will walk away with practical tools to help them to start to look at how they're working in a trauma-informed way.
Okay, I like that. And then Jules and Geneva, I mean, either of you can answer or both. When we talk about culturally relevant resourcing in communities where we have disenfranchised families and the importance that role plays in the healing process overall, one of the things I wonder from a cultural standpoint, you both identify as women, obviously, but then I'm just wondering, in these processes, are you finding that there are cultural differences just based on how you identify with in your everyday living, both of you all? Are you finding that there are differences that are coming about as because we are actually dealing with trauma, and some people's trauma could be ancestral, some people's trauma, you know what I'm saying? It could be derivative of so many things. Are you guys experiencing your own growth culturally through these types of processes? And if so or not, would you expound? Thank you.
Yeah, I'll jump in first, and then Geneva, you can take it. I will just say that, first of all, it's both and. There are things that all of us from any culture have experienced with trauma that is real and that we'll address. But then there's also specific things to different communities. That is why our panel is so diverse, because we wanted to make sure that we were able to touch on different cultures. We have someone on the panel that's from the LGBT community, from the Jewish community, from the, of course, from the African American community, as well as the African community. And so no matter what your culture, we hope to be able to address and touch on something that meets your face, no matter what culture that you have come from and you're a part of.
Awesome. Thank you. And Geneva, did you want to add anything to that?
Absolutely, because when we talk about trauma, we also know about cultural trauma, historical trauma, and these things cannot be pushed aside, So oftentimes folks that have had a traumatic event or experience, sometimes it's just a one-time event, sometimes it's lifelong. And really getting to, in the work that I do particularly, getting to acknowledge their full self, right? Which again, we talked about bringing in spirituality, but a part of their selves is how they identify, right? What is their cultural identity? What is their gender identity? And so we leave, our God is big and we are big, and we say, we are here for you, right? You get to identify yourself. We are here for you. When trauma is pretty large, but when we look at trauma in the context of healing, we're talking about experiences that an individual had, right? Sometimes it's a one-time experience. Sometimes it's something that happened in their life from age 0 to 22, right? We don't know. For everyone, it's different, but it's about the impact and how that experience helped them to see themselves today as an individual. Do they feel like a whole person? Do they feel like a fragmented person? Do they feel like they're not able to have relationships or trust anyone? So it's impossible to be helpful if you're not able to look at really the whole individual, and it does take time, but it is our responsibility to do that.
Absolutely. You women, palms up to you. I love what you're saying. I get to echo this 24/7, and sometimes it can be, I'm sure, a little monotonous. But the reality is that mental health does matter. And in that, the raising the awareness is our intentions of putting the exposure on the trauma, because a lot of times we were dodging the labels because the trauma wasn't validated. And so now, because we have so much research, so many opportunities through our holistic understandings and otherwise, we appreciate opportunities to talk about the importance of being able to connect to each and every individual. You know, we're constantly speaking of there being levels and the reality that there's a dignity that goes along with being able to find oneself, recover from a process, to have ownership in that which is your journey. And so I thank you all for coming on the Palms Up platform and validating this. You know, I'm constantly also saying that if we're going to heal anything in our communities, our women have to be whole, because generally, culturally, from an African-American standpoint, women tend to be the nurturers. And so I thank you for this initiative. I think about all the wonderful women that will benefit. I wonder, when you talk about this being a holistic approach, how would the Palms Up viewers, or should they understand it fitting in alongside with their regular treatments, right? Because many don't want to take their medicine, but need to, as we heard Overseer Dr. Coles mentioned, and I'm going to invite her back to the conversation. And then there's some who have to see a psychiatrist or attend therapy. In your opinion, how does this help alongside the traditional Western treatments that so many are still challenged?
Right. So I'll take that, Chaplain Jules. Is that okay? So with the traditional treatment, when people are diagnosed, right? So it's problem finding, and sometimes that is necessary because the problems are real and significant, and someone cannot function, right? If you're hearing voices and you're seeing things and they're not connected to reality, that's going to prevent you from really functioning in life, right?
Yeah.
It's easiest to see if you see someone that's living on the street. Like if you were to go to that encampment, I'm sure you would see some of that, right? It's mental illness is like any other illness. Anyone can have it. We have learned to not talk about it, and it was so stigmatized, and now we're trying to destigmatize. Very, very recently, I think just this past weekend, Congressman Fetterman spoke about his need to get treatment for depression. So, you know, the illness is on a spectrum, right? So there are going to be some that are just dealing with sadness, emotional burdens, needing to confide, needing to find safety, needed to find peace. And then the extreme are those that are not able to function. So depression so severe that they're not able to get out of bed, not able to show up at work. And that's where medication comes in. And I gave depression as an example, but that's just one of many other potential issues, right? And so in those cases, it's needed, and it's a commitment, and it's hard. It really is hard for people to recognize that. Just like a diabetic needs insulin, they might need their medication and they need to commit to it. So that's sometimes a process. Like you mentioned the term recovery journey. It is a journey. And if they find out early and soon, that's the best outcome, right?
Yeah.
But in between that extreme, there are also thousands of people that are struggling on their own. On the surface, it might appear that everything's fine. They're doing well. They're doing great.
Absolutely.
Right? We've lost recently some, celebrities that seem so happy and joyous. And underneath the surface, who knows? It's, it's like a duck on a pond, and underneath they're like flapping so hard and really trying to stay above and really trying to keep it to themselves. But on the surface, all we see is this great smile. So I think the more that we normalize discussing mental health, the more that we normalize experiences that have kept us, whether we want to call them trauma or just say they keep me living in the past, the more that we make it okay to not be okay sometimes, the less of that. Why should someone struggle in silence, pretending that everything's okay, only to find themselves in a room by themselves one day, totally without hope and despair? We don't want that. We can stop that. We have the power to reduce that. And the
That's
only way
right.
we can do that is by bringing it to the table.
That's
Yes.
right. Bringing it to the table. I like that. Palms up to you out there. If you don't know, you better tell somebody and let them know that we're on the Palms Up show talking about healing trauma from a spiritual perspective. And we're talking to Geneva Tickle. And we're also talking to Miss Jules Christian, second or third time guest back to the Palms Up platform. Guys, we're talking about some real stuff. And if you know somebody in the community, many of you reach out to our platform. Many of you have very interesting situations, whether you're single parents or two parents together, and there are things in your past of a traumatic nature, and you're looking for a safe place to be able to begin to understand where you might unbag all of that, because it's getting heavy, right? Palms up out there, guys. We've got to be able to help our youth with this gun violence, help our city understand this homelessness reality, and we've got to do away with this economic divide and these social determinants that are leaning on us all. And so, guys, when we talk about free events to be able to begin to start again, I get excited. And I would imagine, Jules, as a chaplain, it must be pretty exciting to talk about healing trauma from a spiritual standpoint, given the walk that you walk as a woman of God. Would you put that in perspective for us?
Yes, and my belief is that it does take God and whatever that is for you, the divine, your higher power, it does take God to make us whole. Imagine if you just cut off your arm and tried to function through life. When you don't deal with your spirit, because we are spirit beings, when you don't deal with your issues in your life and from a spiritual perspective, it's just like cutting off a part of you. And so I am so happy that we are having this conversation on healing from trauma from a spiritual perspective, knowing that there is hope, that we can find meaning, that we can connect and reconnect with one another and with the divine. So we are super excited about this event on Thursday, this Thursday, from 1 to 4 at Seabrook Church in Atlanta, Maryland.
And that's at 8900 Good Luck Road. Is there a telephone number? I know we've been putting the link everywhere. Is there a telephone number that we
can call this number 240-571-1213. That's 240-571-1213. And Rhonda, you can also, anyone can just Google Volunteers of America Spiritual Colloquium and it'll pop up. You can go read the website, see the panelists. We're also going to have some musical and dance selections to help break up the heaviness of this topic of that is trauma and healing from trauma. And Rhonda, I have to mention, you know me, we're going to have some prizes.
You know, that's awesome.
Yeah, so we are giving away a free mental health consultation with the psychiatrist. We're giving away a massage. Thank you to Healing Infusions and Tina Falk for providing that. We're giving away 2 travel vouchers for a free night stay, and we're giving away a meditation journal. We're also providing a small lunch for you, and this is free. Come out this Thursday, Google Volunteers of America Spiritual Colloquium or call 240-571-1213. You don't want to miss this opportunity to be a part of the conversation on healing from trauma.
I love that. Palms up. I tell you, you are your own advertising commercial. You do it justice. Hey, Miss Arlene Jones, I'd love to hear a voice from the community this week. Don't mean to put you on the spot, but you are a mom. You are a sister, a woman of God, a small business entrepreneur. So I would imagine in your journey that the understanding of trauma and then the understanding of being able to heal through spiritual understandings and perspectives. What are you hearing when we talk about these very real realities?
What I'm hearing and what I'm seeing is, you know, being out in the community. I had a conversation with my granddaughter today, and we were talking about where the healing is going to start, because people are being affected all around in every community. It's not just in one area, it's everywhere. And we
Yes.
have to like dig in deep, and we have to go hard for one another, because we're not going to make it in this world without the support of each other.
Yes.
Palms up. I couldn't have said it better myself. Thank you, Queen. Guys, I want you to know that we are truly all in this together. And the reality of being able to attend events such as this for free and to be exposed to new positive habits and healing understandings is just awesome. A free psychiatry appointment. My goodness, massages and travel. The gifts alone make it worth coming out to put yourself in something uncomfortable, because we know many cultures are uncomfortable having to come together and talk about or speak about things that perhaps you hadn't even realized. I mean, myself at 23 years of age realized that there was some childhood trauma that, you know, scientifically, you know, was buried until I would imagine, handle it or understand it. And we come up saying that the mind was a terrible thing to waste. I remember that being such a tagline when I was coming up, and now looking back, there was nothing more truer than that, considering all that we've come through and still find ourselves
Yes.
coming through. Overseer Dr. Coles, we're talking about healing our trauma through our spiritual perspectives. Any input, last perspectives before we do our rounds again and remind folks about this wonderful event in 48 hours that's going to occur?
I just want to bring up something that Geneva said, that it's so real. Everybody's smiling, don't mean that they're really happy. And that is so true. A lot of times when somebody smiles, I don't take it as them being happy. I look at the eyes. Because your eyes really tell the story. It really tells the story. The unspoken language, sometimes that's what I call it. One of my questions that I would like to ask, I think is a beautiful service, a beautiful thing that your organization is doing. But one of the problems that we have when it comes to mental health is 24/7 access. Like when somebody is going through, do they really have access right then and there? And again, I have to keep pushing and keeping them out of government's harm's way. Because a lot of times when you go to therapy, it's reported. Now, that's the one good thing. Being clergy, we don't have to report, technically speaking. So people feel more comfortable coming to clergy that has no judgment. I tell them real quick, I don't have a heaven and hell to put you in. I'm a survivor of trauma. I go through trauma every day sometimes. That's just real. I have a therapist that I have to go to keep myself from going. My biggest joke is I say, I ain't took my purple pill yet, so be careful how you approach me.
Hey, Overseer, I'm glad that you took it there. I wanted to make sure we didn't get out of here without mentioning why this work and hearing from you, Jules, was so near and dear to the hearts of those of us here at Healthy DC and me. We launched our standalone trauma model, level 2, because we felt like east of the river, we are lacking 24/7 services, not for any particular population, but as you mentioned, for everyone. Predominantly, we have an African-American presence east of the river. However, we realize that because a lot of the research is still unfolding, we're being educated across the board. And it's important that we have centers and environments in place for us to be able to heal or help our folks have a place to come and heal. Oftentimes in communities, our law enforcement are left to have to be the go-between between the trauma that we carry and the reality of recognizing we don't have enough outreach services, and we're very reactive. Now, I want to talk about that before we get out of here. we talked about being proactive as opposed to reactive in helping our citizens find ways to heal, and educations for doing so. And in the reality of understanding that we've got to be able to invest more in the preventative understandings. And when I hear you talk about the colloquium, it feels so preventative because, I mean, let's face it, for example, we know that from a mental health standpoint, one of the largest groups of populations annually that we find stricken with mental illness is our LGBTQ community. And so if we have colloquiums popping up all over cities and organizations across the nation, helping to heal our citizens on a community level, what would that do to our overall national numbers, where we see such a epidemic, if you will, of folks that need services and need just what you're doing. As we close out, you guys have any perspective on that or on the event as a whole?
Geneva, you want to go first?
Sure, surely. You know, this is, as we've said over and again, and we'll continue to shout it out, this is something that's important, that needs to happen. This is the beginning. We welcome all voices. Our panel is representative of a wide, you know, swath of differences, including gender identity, sexual identity, religious identity. It's just, it's represents who we are in terms of embracing all and loving all. So that is the lens from which we speak, and that is the lens from which we work. Chaplain Jules.
And you know, when you come out to this colloquium, not only is this Healing from Trauma program going to minister to you and inspire to you, but you can learn more about Volunteers of America. We have a 24-hour, 7 days a week prayer line, 877 VOA Pray. We have a mental health youth expo coming up on April the 29th. We do so much in our community in DC, Maryland, Virginia, and in North Carolina. And so, you know, we know that there are issues with the system. We're working within the system, but also doing events like this to be preventative. And so we're not just taking one approach, we're saying we're trying to look in different lenses in the both and on how can we help those who are already in the thick and need help, but then also how can we do that preventative work to connect with those in our community. So please come out Thursday, February the 23rd, this Thursday, day after tomorrow at Seabrook Church on 8900 Good Luck Drive.
Good Luck Road.
Good Luck Road, or call 240-571-1213. Come out and be a part of our colloquium. We want to see you and hear from you. We want you to be a part of this beautiful event.
This is so awesome, and thank you. Palms up again. I want you guys to know that it's our mission to keep our eyes on the community and bring you the types of messaging and understanding and outreach that's going to help save a life out there, guys. It is time to let the walls down. It is time to build those relationships of trust. Take baby steps, but you got to show up. As we said, mental health matters and you matter. Palms up to everyone out there. I want you to know that's why we've been stomping all over the place. CapitalCityEmergency.org is the website. And that's why we've been preaching that, guys, you've got to be willing to speak up, stand up, and take ownership. Your life is a unique life and you are meant to be here. Again, spiritual is about expanding a sense of purpose and meaning in life. Guys, if you're out there and you're looking to make connections or to connect, if you are feeling that there is something that you need to talk to someone about, or perhaps you like to immerse yourself in an environment where you don't feel so isolated, it is so exciting to be able to introduce you to the Volunteers of America representatives here today on the Palms Up platform. Guys, it's all about caring about one another, meeting you where you are, and helping you to be knowledgeable about that which is your journey. in order that
Yes.
you embrace it and live your best life. We just want what's best for everyone. And the reality is that we've got to have these tough conversations. Palms up. Many of us come from families, and as you heard our beautiful Geneva Tickle say, a lot of times there is trauma of sexual, of physical. It comes from all different aspects. And the truth of the matter is that when we begin to heal, we begin to learn ourselves better, and we begin to grow. And when we grow, we can help others, and we can help our communities and help our children. So we are absolutely all in this together. I thank you both for having such beautiful hearts, because you have to care to do this kind of work. And a lot of times people don't care to know until they know that you care. So palms up to you. You have beautiful spirits. I'm looking forward to hearing all of the wonderful information. If we're going to put this link on our website, healthydcandme.org, where we park our archive shows, where you can find Jules in her art, her silent auction. But on a serious note, guys, if you're not doing anything on Thursday, this Thursday, the 23rd, from 1 to 4 p.m. in Lanham, Maryland, that's not that far, guys, over at the Seabrook Church, 8900 Good Luck Road. I want you guys to commit to doing something different. And I know that some of the children are on school break this week. So if they're high school in nature and mature enough, as you heard the dear doctor say, perhaps this would be an experience that you as a parent could introduce to your young adult, and or tape it, take good notes, and take it back to introduce to your family. It's all about healthy habits. Your health is your wealth, and knowledge is power. Palms up.
Amen. Yes.
Hey, ladies, thank you all so much. I keep saying it, and I'm going to say it again. I think Beyonce say, who run world? Girls, girls. But I'm going to keep on saying it. If we are not lifting our women up in the community and making sure that they are whole and healthy and have access, then we are going to watch our children perish, and we're going to see our men follow suit for the most part, and our communities will continue to struggle. We must do this from a health standpoint, and we must uplift all.
Yes.
Amen?
Amen.
Arms up, guys. And just like that, another week. Well, I don't know about you. I'm going to be testifying at the housing hearings, but boy, I hope they let us out of there before 4 p.m. so that we can run through Lanham and greet you beautiful workers and learn more about Volunteers of America. I know that you guys are providing, core service and housing services for district citizens and that live in your programs. So it would be interesting for folks to be able to learn more about your programming, so that we can make certain that this is a resource that the community can benefit from continuously. Palms up, it's 8 o'clock, just like that. And that's the word for this week. Guys, don't stay quiet out there. There's so much you could be doing. Thursday, we're going to put the link on our website. I wish you guys a wonderful rest of your week. I wish you a very successful event, and I'm looking forward to participating in more. And hopefully when we get this trauma center up and running, we can talk about how we have more of these types of events for the community.
Yes.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Well, palms up, ladies. You guys have a beautiful rest of your evening. Thank you to my co-host and beautiful queen and sister, Overseer Dr. Ann Coles and Miss Arlene Jones. Really appreciate you out there watching the community. Ladies, let's go save some souls. Why don't we? And teach a good thing. Palms up. See you guys next week.
All right.
Bye-bye.